This is my presentation on Dmitri Shostakovich as a composer. This is a great quote from him. It really applies to his life experience living in the Soviet Union. When a man is in despair, it means that he still believes in something. And here's a picture of Leningrad during World War II, which is where he was born. So, for his early life, Dmitri Dmitrievich Shostakovich was born in St. Petersburg um, on September 25th, 1906. His mother was a professional pianist, and his father was an engineer for the Bureau of Weights and Measures. And he had pretty obvious musical talent from a young age when he expressed it as his mother was giving him piano lessons at the age of 9. And he went to the Petrograd Conservatory where he got more formal education for his skills at age 13. As a pianist, his piano playing was considered to be dry, and not everyone liked it very much. But he found more success with being a composer, which is evident with his first piece written at 19, which was a graduation piece, and it was performed in 1926, and the audience loved it, and they demanded an encore of the scherzo. So, um, with his success as a composer, he was given a job at the Leningrad Conservatory as a composition professor, which gave him more like financial security in his life. So, with living under Joseph Stalin's rule, there was a lot of state censorship, and as an artist, this makes it difficult to express emotion, which is a massive part of being an artist. But despite all this, he still was able to really make an impact on his people and be a great representation for what life was like in the Soviet Union during that time. So, some of the first big events in his life were the 1936 state denunciations with his opera Lady Macbeth of Witsenk and the start of the Great Terror. So, Stalin came to watch his opera be performed, and he did not approve of it. He called it deliberately dissonant and a muddled stream of sounds, which did not conform to the proletarian style of music that the state was advocating for. And then later again in February, um, a section of the state newspaper was criticizing his opera, The Limpid Stream, which claimed it to be an inaccurate portrayal of peasant life on a collective farm with no real expression, which again goes against the proletarian values that the Soviet Union was advocating for. So even though this doesn't really seem like that big of a deal to us with our freedom of the press and freedom of expression in the United States, this was a really big deal for him because it meant uh, a risk for his arrest because public figures disappearing in the middle of the night was a real thing. So he met with the chairman of the USSR State Committee on Culture, and he was instructed to make his art less formal to allow for more um, a wider audience to enjoy his works and understand. But because of these things, his income fell, which made his life way harder. And then in World War II, he was unable to serve in the military because of his poor eyesight, as you maybe noticed his glasses in the first picture. Um, and so he made an effort in the war through his symphonies, which really inspired the masses and reminded them of the duty that they had to ensure that life went on. And Symphony Number 7 in specific was written as a symphony about our age, our people, our sacred war, and our victory. The Zenov Decree of 1948 was a second denunciation given to Shostakovich for formalism, and he was kind of grouped in with a bunch of other composers and being accused of writing anti-proletarian music. He was forced to make a public apology as a result, and he got fired from his job. Um, and he was sent as a Soviet representative for the Cultural and Scientific Congress for World Peace in New York City. But he wasn't really a real representative. He was kind of just a puppet for denunciations of Stravinsky that he really did not agree with. So the big turning point in his life was Stalin's death, and with new leadership, Shostakovich was appointed the chairman of the RSFSR Union of Composers. And his eighth string quartet is a response to the Dresden firebombing, subtitled "To the Victims of Fascism and War," which really shows his true opinions on the the state of war and society at the time. And then eventually, after years of unhealthy lifestyle choices, he died in 1975 at the age of 69. But he left an amazing legacy of inspiration for the citizens of the Soviet Union of his time, and even for the future generations of people across the world, no matter what borders might lie between. So, with his works, he produced 15 symphonies, operas, ballets, concertos, string quartets, and a ton of musical soundtracks for movies and other works. And his work was inspired by composers like Bach for his fugues and Beethoven for his later string quartets. Um, his style is widely regarded as being neoclassical and romantic, but it's obvious the glaring thing is that his style was greatly influenced by the state restrictions, which is unfortunate because he really could have um, produced amazing things if he had no legal obligation not to, um, you know, truly express himself with his music, which is very unfortunate. But despite this, his music is still really great, and it's very inspiring for people even today. So one of his pieces is the Suite for Variety Orchestra Number 1, which is arranged by Levon Atovmian. And something interesting about it is it was misidentified as Jazz Suite Number 2 in a publishment of Shostakovich collected works in 1984. So it's kind of hard to find the right title for this piece online. And it includes a bunch of pieces from his works just as a composer, kind of collected together into one performance. And it's like excerpts from ballets and soundtracks from films and theater works. And there's a whole list here of where the different movements in the Suite for Variety Orchestra Number 1 come from. And you can see that they come from a ton of different like films or uh, just cues. It's really amazing how many, with the variety of music that he produced. And then this is Waltz Number 2, which is one of the movements from the Suite for Variety Orchestra Number 1, and it is from cues composed for the soundtrack to the first Echelon. I guess that the first thing is the verse with instrumentals. And that goes on until 39 seconds. And here are my sources.